60 words per minute entitled Buying a Christmas Tree. Just a few notes about the passage. More than 90 words of these 240 words are word groupings or special outlines. So in other words, 1.5 minutes of the 4 minutes dictation, or approximately 3/8. This tells you the importance of knowing the word groupings and the special outlines and being able to write them without hesitation. Additionally, let's think about the fourth sentence of the passage, which of course is, "There is no doubt that a real tree, which can be chipped and used for mulching," we'll stop there, and the outline for chipped could, I suppose, be transcribed as chopped. After all, we are talking about trees and wood. Admittedly, it would not make such good sense because chippings are used for mulching, but nevertheless it is feasible that chipped could be transcribed as chopped. It's very unlikely that during the dictation you would realise that. It would no doubt only come to light in transcription. So we would not have the opportunity to distinguish or make it clear by inserting an I indicator alongside the H for chipped and an O indicator alongside the H for chopped. If, in an examination, you were to make such an error, it would be regarded as a minor error, because both outlines are the same, chipped and chopped. So that means you would have the correct shorthand. If you had one error over and above the error tolerance, then your paper would probably pass, providing your shorthand note was good. Some outlines which could cause confusion have been designated as distinguishing outlines when the system was written. Whilst chop and chip are not two of them, amusing and amazing are distinguishing outlines. A sentence would make equally good sense if we were to write, for example, "I was amused by his story," or "I was amazed by his story." Entirely different meanings, of course, so we need to distinguish between amused and amazed. And we do so by putting the medial Z in for amazed, which normally we would never do, of course, because we only write Z when Z begins a word. Fire and fur could, I suppose, cause hesitation. Dry needles and lights can be a fire hazard. But if you were writing dry needles and lights can be a fur hazard, it wouldn't make sense. But again, it is feasible that if you were rushing through the transcription, you might write fur instead of fire, because we are talking about Christmas trees. It is absolutely amazing how many people do not read through their notes before submitting. It's unlikely, however, that a nonsensical sentence would be regarded as a minor error. So if you were to write "this is a fur hazard," then that would be nonsensical. There is a group of distinguishing outlines in fire, that's F and a separate R, firm and form, FM blend with the relevant indicator alongside the blend, and farm, where the FR blend and the M is used. Hence, when I have written farmers, I've used the FR blend followed by a doubled M for the MR, and it was farmers in this case, so that's got an S on the end. The message here then is always read through your longhand transcription before submitting your note in an examination, just in case a different word may make more sense. There are one or two special outlines that I'd like to point out, one of which may be new to you. So advantages is ADVNS, and disadvantages will start with DS. and then DVNS. Now the new one, or the one that may be new to you, is environment. So normally with a word that begins with EV, I know this doesn't begin with EV, it begins with ENV, but if you had a word that begins with EV, such as ever, you may be writing the E indicator above the V. So we're getting used to writing something above the V. In this word, environment, it's not EV, it's ENV. And we would blend the N with the V, upwards with the R, and disjoin the ment. But if we write a V with the ment written from the centre of it and still disjointed on the T line, it could be our new special outline for environment. If you like it, then please use it. If not, use the traditional way of writing environment, which is also shown here. The special outline for convenience, with that disjoined C for words that end in vowel NCE. A and shun on the T line for attention. And a full A says after, as well as able, able to, and ability. But for this passage, we'll use it for the word after. Simple word groupings, essential to build speed. Starting with the 4-word grouping, there has been a. Even that final word, a, join it on, because disjoining and writing it separately takes a fraction of a second, and the saving of fractions of a second really builds the speed. This is the secret of the speed. This is the key to the speed. Great deal. Great deal to be said. A lovely little phrase. You're writing great deal, keep the pen on, just a T for two, big circle only for B, go inside that big circle for the small circle of S for said, and come out with the D. If you prefer, of course, you can write great deal separately and to be said separately. That is your choice. Next, we've got rather than, and we're raising the N for than just like we do with more than. I would like, we're chopping the wood, and we're kicking the L out of like. Of the, two tiny, common words, absolutely essential that you join them together and that you do so without any hesitation, because they're going to come up over and over again. First of all, we're missing out the of altogether there, we're just writing first all. Of course. There is the, with the S outside the angle, of course. There is no doubt that. This time the S goes inside the curve of the N. So you go THR underneath for the S, over the top for the N. I always put the O in, but it's not entirely essential. DT for doubt, come down with the H and cross it with the T for that. There is no doubt that. Drill it. Get used to writing it fast. It really will serve you well. Can be, CN blend, full B. You could, of course, write just the big circle for B there. But because CN is not too tall, only teenage size, it could look like a capital B when you come to read it back, and you may hesitate. On the other hand, we're just writing an O for on, just an O for other, and we're sloping the H the way the A is sloped for hand. So we've got on the other hand. Lovely little phrase. It is next. You would have. Now keep the U nice and curved, because if it's too sharp it may look like I would have. And that's one of the most common errors in exams, getting you and I mixed up. Don't make the U too wide, otherwise it could look like we. Next one is you would have to use. Now you don't need the to there. If we write you would have use, we will know automatically that the to is there. At least. A lot of. That's a good phrase, but if you miss it in transcription, remember you will lose 3 marks, 1 mark for each word. So if you do use it, make sure you don't miss it. Doing a word count in the exam is useful for purposes such as that. It should be. Remember that big S that looks like our capital S for SH, then the D and the big circle for B. It should be. So that the. Do not. Can be a. Again, joining that big circle for B. Is a, with the S outside the angle. Some people say, we're very familiar with some people, but join the say onto the end. So the S inside the curve of the L and then the A indicator. There is nothing. The ing written downwards, of course, for thing. It is a. Again, the importance of joining that A. For your. At the same time. Normally we would disjoin time, but in that grouping at the same time, it's quite common to join it on. Need to be. Now the D of need is also the serving the purpose of the T of to. Think of it like that. It is not. Again, I've put the O in not. And in the. Make it nice and tall so that it looks very different to in. Ready. There has been a great deal to be said about buying a real Christmas tree rather than a plastic one. I would like to outline some of the advantages and disadvantages of each. First of all, of course, there is the impact on the environment. There is no doubt that a real tree, which can be chipped and used for mulching after the Christmas season, has little or no impact on the environment. On the other hand, a plastic tree can only go to landfill after it has served its purpose. If, for convenience, you do decide to buy a plastic tree, you would have to use it for at least 10 years to counter the impact on the environment. Second half, ready. A real tree needs a lot of attention. It needs to be watered each day. It should be placed carefully away from heat so that the needles do not dry. The combination of dry needles and lights can be a fire hazard. Keeping the floor needle-free is a daily task. Some people say there is nothing quite like a real tree. The smell is amazing. It is a lovely family occasion to go out to choose the ideal tree for your home, while at the same time supporting local farmers. After the Christmas season, real trees need to be disposed of responsibly. It is not as easy as putting it in a box and storing it in the loft. If you enjoyed this exam practice, please click like and remember to subscribe so that you will receive notifications when others are added. Good job. Let's love T-line together.